Welcome to this explainer. I'm absolutely thrilled you're joining us today. Look, if you've ever felt completely overwhelmed trying to master conversational English, you are in exactly the right place. Today, we're diving into some seriously empowering source material that completely flips the script on how we learn languages. We're going to toss the stress out the window, create a super warm, encouraging vibe right here, and discover how to speak English naturally, fluently, and confidently. And spoiler alert, getting it wrong is actually the secret to getting it right.
Okay, let's dive into this. What do you honestly think is the absolute biggest barrier to speaking fluent English? I want you to take a quick second and really reflect on your own language anxiety. Is it, a lack of vocabulary? Is it not knowing the past perfect tense? Actually, according to our source material, the biggest barrier isn't a lack of knowledge at all. No way. It's the intense, paralyzing fear of sounding foolish. It's that immense pressure to be absolutely flawless every single time you open your mouth.
The traditional approach, right? It's all about memorizing endless grammar rules. It's rigid, it's exhausting, and honestly, it makes you feel like you're sitting for a math test every time you just want to say hello. But our source material advocates for a massive, highly practical shift, focusing on real-life conversations. Instead of agonizing over grammar formulas, you learn English exactly as it's spoken out there in the real world.
Section 1. Ditching the grammar rules. To really achieve true fluency, we have to undergo a total paradigm shift. We literally have to walk away from textbook perfection. Textbooks are great for passing written exams, sure, but they are notoriously terrible at preparing you for a fast-paced chat with a barista or a quick laugh with a neighbor. The foundation of this shift is so simple. Stop translating and start speaking. Think about it. When you're in a conversation, your brain doesn't have the time to take an English phrase, translate it to your native language, formulate a response, and then translate it back. That is way too slow. You have to imagine yourself directly in the situation and respond only in English. It feels kind of scary at first, for sure, but it forces your brain to build direct pathways to those English words.
Because, here's the reality of how native speakers actually talk. Something traditional grammar totally fails to teach. Native speakers rely heavily on contractions. They almost never say I am, or we are, or cannot. They say I'm, we're, and can't. They also use connected speech, where the end of one word just naturally blends right into the beginning of the next. And they have a natural pacing and rhythm. If you only memorize grammar rules, you're going to sound like a robot reading a manual, rather than a real human making a connection.
Section 2. Navigating real-life situations.
So, to see how this builds into an actual workable curriculum, the source material structures learning around 100 daily, highly practical conversations. Not abstract concepts, but the exact scenarios you're going to face the minute you step out your front door. Think about the sheer volume and utility here. We're talking about grocery shopping, ordering food, job interviews, visiting a doctor, running bank and post office errands. And it doesn't stop there. The source includes taking a taxi, booking a hotel, checking in at the airport, asking for directions, chatting with coworkers, discussing hobbies, even apologizing or accepting an invitation. By immersing yourself in these specific, rapid-fire contexts, you're essentially building a customized survival kit for real-world communication.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how effortlessly you can elevate those everyday conversations. You don't need a dictionary the size of a brick. You can take a common, beginner word like good and simply swap it out for great or excellent. Instead of saying everything is nice, you can say it's wonderful. The source emphasizes this exact strategy, showing how each of these alternatives is used naturally in context. This instantly expands your vocabulary and makes your English sound so much more colorful and dynamic.
Section 3. The power of shadowing.
Now, if you're sitting there wondering exactly how to practice those wonderful new words and conversational rhythms, well, shadowing is the most powerful mechanical tool in the source material for achieving correct pronunciation, stress, and intonation. Let's clearly define what this is. Shadowing is the practice of listening to a sentence and repeating it aloud to mimic the speaker's exact rhythm and pronunciation. Think of it as a completely safe, pressure-free sandbox. You're essentially acting as an echo. It's the absolute perfect way to practice tricky sounds and iron out common beginner mistakes without the stress of having to think up the words yourself.
Our source breaks this down into a very calm, deliberate, step-by-step process. First, you just listen naturally to the friendly teacher. Try to really feel the rhythm of the sentence. Second, you comprehend the meaning directly in English, resisting that urge to translate it back into your native language. Third, you pause, take a breath. And fourth, you repeat the phrase aloud, matching the stress and intonation as closely as you possibly can. It's just a gentle, rhythmic cycle. Listen, comprehend, pause, repeat.
But remember, active participation is absolutely non-negotiable here. You must answer aloud to build undeniable speaking confidence. You can't just nod along in your head. The source material incorporates exercises where you actually have to complete unfinished sentences, answer personal questions, and describe pictures out loud. You have to physically train the muscles in your mouth to produce these sounds. It is literally the only way to build that undeniable confidence.
Section 4. Why mistakes build true fluency.
All right, we've arrived at the climax and the core focus of our explainer today. We have to talk about the psychology of abandoning perfectionism. Because let's face it, all the shadowing and vocabulary in the world won't help you if you're too terrified to open your mouth. So the crucial point is this: speaking every day is more important than being perfect. Let that sink in for a second. Your daily momentum, your willingness to just show up and try, carries vastly more weight than your grammatical accuracy. Consistency is always going to be perfection.
Because mistakes, they are a feature, not a bug of language learning. I really want you to embrace this. Every single time you stumble over a contraction, or every time you use the wrong alternative word, you are generating essential data points that your brain desperately needs. Your brain uses those mistakes to course correct and master the flow of everyday English. If you aren't making mistakes, you simply aren't speaking enough. They are literal proof that you're trying, learning, and getting closer to true fluency. To really put this into practice, the source material issues a fantastic final call to action, a 30-day speaking challenge. The goal is to take these practical, real-life conversations, use that shadowing technique we talked about, and speak aloud every single day for the next 30 days. It's all about building a habit where making mistakes becomes a completely normal, joyful part of your daily routine.
So, I'll leave you with this final, provocative thought to carry with you. If mistakes are just stepping stones to fluency, what is stopping you from speaking English today? Don't let the fear of a grammatical error hold you back from making a real human connection. Embrace the messy, wonderful process of learning. Get out there, start talking, and hey, make some fantastic mistakes today.